A long and bitter strike by a small group of workers in one department paralysed a national newspaper, and may even have killed it. This ended only after the arrest of a dozen of the pickets. All but one of these men has already been tried for illegal picketing and intimidation at the magistrates' court. Only one, Maoist student and political activist Donald Dowd, has insisted upon his legal right to a jury trial. In the first day of the trial, yesterday, feelings ran high. There were angry clashes between Mr. Justice Campbell and Defence Counsel Charles Lotterby, when the judge ruled that this was not a political trial and refused Lotterby leave to introduce political questions, though he claimed these are what this whole case is about, that Dowd is only charged because the authorities want a conviction against him as a troublemaker. For the Crown, Andrew Logan, QC, has tried to show that Dowd not only took part in the events, but was also a ringleader. Then, when Lotterby was cross-examining the arresting police officer Kershaw and flung out the accusation that all of his evidence was deliberate perjury, the judge adjourned to let defence counsel reconsider that charge.
Mr. Lotterby, yesterday you accused the Crown witness, Police Sergeant Kershaw, of perjury, thus bringing his character into question. When I adjourned, I suggested that you use the time to consider whether this was the line of cross-examination that you really wanted to pursue. What have you decided?
My Lord, I am bound to pursue it. It is implicit in the defence case that Mr. Dowd was prosecuted for reasons other than his actions at the strike, and that the prosecution evidence is a fabrication, and that consequently the Crown witnesses must be lying.
That both the van driver and the police officer were premeditatedly lying on oath.
Yes, my Lord.
I see. Mr. Lotterby, are you sure you would not like to reconsider?
Look, what is this? Reconsider? Of course he's lying in his teeth. Be damned if I will.
Be silent, Dowd. You are on trial for a serious offence in a court of law. You are ably represented by an experienced counsel. Do not try to do his job for him.
Oh, you are? What is this? Footsie?
Will you
be damned if we take it back.
Be silent. You will have an opportunity to speak if you go into the witness box, but you will be silent until then. And I warn you that any more disturbances of this kind from you, and you may be found guilty of contempt of court.
And maybe I'm guilty of that.
I have warned you for the last time. Mr. Lotterby, would you continue?
My Lord. Sergeant, I'm going to ask you to stretch your imagination a little bit. Now, if you were to be given firm orders from a lawfully appointed senior officer, what orders would you feel bound to disobey?
Well, if it was against the law, sir.
What about if the order was against your personal conscience?
If it was a lawful order, sir.
So you would obey almost any order given you by a senior officer?
That's my duty, sir.
So even against your conscience, you would have obeyed an order to arrest Donald Dowd, wouldn't you?
Well, that depends.
In fact, you did obey just such an order, didn't you? You were ordered to break this strike, to go and arrest Dowd on any pretext, arrest him and get him out of the way.
No, I wasn't.
But you would have to say that under orders, wouldn't you? No further questions.
Sergeant Kershaw, were you ordered to come here and commit perjury under oath?
No, sir.
And even if it was even remotely possible that you had received such an order, would you have obeyed it?
I don't think so, no, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you, Sergeant. You may step down.
Well, that is the case for the prosecution, my lord.
I call Dr. Germaine Elwes.
Yes, I am Donald MacDowd's university tutor.
What is known as his model tutor?
No. My particular university, it's not felt that anyone has the right to oversee morals. I am his overall academic tutor.
That is to say, he would also take classes from other teachers and tutors.
Of course, yes.
How long have you known Dowd?
Oh, about 4 years.
In your opinion, what sort of student is he?
Outstanding.
He's an outstanding student, one who very much benefits from his university career.
I should say so.
Is your experience of him that he is a truthful man?
Yes.
Invariably truthful?
Well, nobody is invariably anything. He's a human being, not a machine.
Now, would you find it conceivable that he could stand here in court on oath and lie to us?
Not about this, no. If you put him on oath and ask him, he'll tell you the truth.
Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Elwes, may I ask you an impertinent question?
You ask rhetorical ones.
Well, I've always wanted to know... Oh, perhaps I should ask you first, are you an atheist?
Yes.
You are an atheist. You believe in no God, no power larger than man, nothing to exercise any control over you.
Yes, I am an atheist. No, I believe in no God.
But if that is so, how can you swear an oath?
Well, just as you can. No God appears to strike you down if you tell a lie. I tell the truth because it's better for my self-respect and clarity.
Yes, that's not quite what I meant. I meant that when you swore an oath to tell the truth here today, you swore by Almighty God, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Well, isn't that a dishonest and hypocritical thing to do when you now confess to no belief in God at all?
Well, it was stupid, perhaps. They asked my religion, and I automatically replied C of E. I was brought up as that. My oath is no less binding for it. I'm a don't know rather than an atheist, if that makes you feel better.
I'm not sure that it does. Dr. Elwes, have you at any time received letters from any of Dowd's other teachers complaining to you about his unsatisfactory attendance record as a student?
You must understand that detailed records are not kept for the most part. A university is not a school to mark registers, present or absent.
That is not an answer.
In the past, I have had a couple of letters, yes.
Letters from several of his teachers complaining about Dowd's unsatisfactory and infrequent attendances at their lectures.
Yes, but...
Neither is this the only reason you have had for looking into his attendance record, is it?
Look, I'll say to you what I say to them. Attendance is no criterion of academic ability. A bright scholar may get more from books than from lectures. The only thing that matters is his academic record, whether or not he passes his exams.
But he isn't passing his exams either, is he? Hasn't Mr. Dowd already taken 6 years over a 4-year course?
Well, he failed 1 year and had to take the year over again. He changed courses and lost another year, but...
But he has taken 6 years already over a 4-year course.
Yes.
And what was the other reason you had for looking into his attendance record?
Well, at one time, a year or so ago, at the height of all this silly publicity that the press has inflicted upon him, there was a move by his local education authority to stop his grant.
They wanted to stop it because he wasn't working as a student.
Because he was politically active.
Ah, now that is your opinion, but not their reason, was it?
No.
In fact, however much you would like to defend him, you cannot deny that he is not a very satisfactory or hard-working student, can you?
He's a very clever and responsive student.
Yes, but that once again was not my question, Dr. Elwes. Tell me, is it not a fact that the university used to keep very much fuller student records than it now does?
Yes.
Now records are kept only concerning each student's academic ability.
Yes.
What brought about this change?
A protest by the students, which, in my opinion...
Yes, a whole series of protests and demands to have access to their own records, was it not?
Yes.
Protests and demands led by Donald Dowd.
Led by? What does that mean? You'd have to define the term.
This is not an academic discussion, Dr. Elwes. Led by is perfectly clear. Was Dowd not a prime mover in the demands to have access to student records?
I suppose he was, yes.
And as a result of those demands, the university is now forced to keep much less complete student records.
Perfectly adequate records, nevertheless. All that is required...
Also, was Dowd not a ringleader at yet another student protest, this time concerning schedules and conditions? Do I need to define ringleader for you?
No, thank you. Yes, I understand that he took part in that protest.
More than that?
Perhaps.
So, if I may recapitulate, Dr. Elwes, Dowd attends his lectures infrequently, is such an unsatisfactory student that teachers and education authorities have complained about him, spends much of his time organising protests and demonstrations instead of studying, has already taken 6 years over a 4-year course and still not graduated. All this quite apart from his many other activities. Now, if we may agree not to argue semantics and definitions, Doctor, can you deny that that is an adequate resume of the facts you have given us?
Overstatement. Overstatement, suggestion and insinuation. Let me give you some idea
please,
of the background.
Don't bother. Thank you very much, Dr. Germaine Elwes.
We would, of course, agree, Doctor, that Academic is not a dirty word, and that without people whose job it is to learn and to think, there could be neither culture nor civilization for the rest of us to enjoy.
Yes.
An academic's job is to think, isn't it?
It is.
And this is the important thing, to think and question. Even if that leads to conclusions and actions with which the rest of us might not agree.
Yes, very much so.
And what did you answer to the teachers and the education authority when they came to you complaining of Dowd cutting classes?
Yes, it was irrelevant to his academic progress. Also, I told his teachers they might try to make their lectures rather more interesting.
Yes. Does it really matter if a student takes 6 or more years to graduate?
No, it's not a race. It's how far one goes, not how fast.
And in your opinion, Mr. Dowd may go far?
Well, he already has.
In which way?
He's already active in the world. He's not a dropout, is he? He achieves. He has a good instinct for humbug and a dislike of hypocrisy. Many of his opinions are original to him, and some of them have given me food for thought. And if any of that sounds dry and academic, it's my fault. He is not.
Thank you, Dr. Elwes. Now, student records.
Yes.
If the business of a university is only to train and educate students, does it have need of records which are anything other than those of academic progress?
I should say it does not.
So nothing is lost?
Nothing. Records of a student's political views, for example, are wholly unnecessary.
Yes, Doctor. Well, I might agree with you there wholeheartedly, but we must be very careful. We mustn't talk about politics here. It's been forbidden.
By whom?
The
The
court.
case is political.
The court has forbidden it.
Oh. Well, that was to be expected.
You think perhaps this prosecution was brought only because the powers that be intended to make an example of Donald Dowd?
Mr. Lotterby, you are doing it again.
Doing what, my lord?
You know what perfectly well. The witness will not answer that question. This is not, and I repeat, it will not be turned into a political trial.
My lord, I can only accept your ruling, but I should be grateful for clarification of one small point.
Yes, I'm sure I shall regret asking, but what is it?
If by its very nature this already is a political trial, how does any ruling make it not political? Your lordship cannot point at white and rule that it is black.
You are trying to play legal games with me, Mr. Lotterby, as you know very well, in order to score points and make it appear that matters are being kept from the public and the jury. I will say again, and for the last time, that under British rule, no man can be prosecuted for his political beliefs. The accused is not being prosecuted for his. He stands accused of taking part in an illegal action.
Yes, my lord, he stands accused for his part in an illegal action, and his case is that he had no part in it.
Get on with your job, Mr. Lotterby.
Well, my lord, I can only accept your ruling.
We are all deeply grateful to you for that.
You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours.
Dr. Elwes, the 2 protests in which Mr. Dowd took part, were they both, in your opinion, over justifiable issues?
Yes, they were.
So one could not call him a troublemaker.
I don't know. Sometimes somebody needs to make trouble.
Or not an unreasonable troublemaker.
No.
But an outstanding student of whom you, as his tutor, have a high regard.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Elwes. Thank you very much.